understanding that self-determination and the idea of giving the resources to them and letting the Adivasi or the tribal have his voice has its limitations. So when we do organizing and thinking about these movements at large, to keep bringing it to the people, to sort of make them understand that firstly, in the current situation, they cannot have true self-determination, and that if they do try to have that, it will have these many problems. Because, to my mind, not only is the problem academic and theoretical, but also because when these tribes, they raise their demands and the state will not fulfill them in the near future, knowing that this cannot happen in this structure, the movement itself might get delegitimized. So perhaps it is important even right now for these organizations to keep trying to posit these demands for self-determination in movemental terms. They are mediating demands, they are immediate demands, but only temporary ones. The larger, perhaps the need to sort of keep engaging in terms that the larger struggle is much larger. That the question, the answers lie somewhere else, not in self-determination.
You see, such questions, I don't know the leaderships whether they are, yes, these things must be discussed, but I don't know whether the leadership involved in those movements, they may be knowing by themselves, but whether they are sharing with the people, that part I do not know that whether they are doing that. Actually, those who are really active in the field, they can tell you. I don't know, but that is what you are raising is quite justified, and because self-determination has to be very cautiously dealt. And sometimes what happens, I have seen some of the people who are really very conscious, and I rate them, their consciousness very high, but sometimes they also fall prey to this self-determination kind of things. So, they require self-determination. They should have their own state and they should have their own. I know them, they are very conscious people, but sometimes they make this kind of statements, which I think will not be. If we look deeper into it, to my understanding, self-determination is going to, if you give if they go for any state, because Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh experience shows that this is going to be more detrimental to the interest of in the larger context, it will be more adversarial to the interest of the tribals, real tribals.
Just in addition to what Paresh said about self-determination, I think from a left revolutionary point of view, we need to disabuse the term from liberal representative democracy, self-determination, like the question of separate states. We need to see that separate status, when granted, I mean, just the transfer of political power in that sense, does not change the nature of the state or the class character of the state, which is the same, aiding value transfer in that sense. And so, in movemental terms, I think when we talk about self-determination, we have to see it in its social revolutionary logic. I mean, let's not, I wouldn't say be scared of using the term, but to say that through movements, it should be a constant transformation process where you constantly try to transform the socio-economic hierarchies in that sense. And then perhaps self-determination will have a more richer meaning, more than say separate status and things like that.
Actually, no, that actually the movement, again as I told you, in Orissa what I find, such broad questions are not being addressed. There is a project and this project is going to displace us. If the project stops and we are saved from displacement, then it's all over. Life comes to normalcy. So, the question that you are asking, that actually asks for continuation of the program, continuation of the movement. Suppose that stops, but there are other things which people should raise, and that doesn't happen. That's not happening. So that way, the movement comes to a stop the moment the threats are withdrawn.
sort of response to say a movement like Lalgarh, which is about political power, and so the logic of that movement gets crushed because there is no, like say, transformation cannot be localized in that sense, and it has to be crushed because there is no sort of generalization outside other movements and all. So people are scared, or maybe not scared, but cannot see things that way, the political power and things like that. But when something like Lalgarh happens, when political power is taken head on, so what is the reaction here, the sort of movement here?
There is a project, and this project is going to displace us. If the project stops and we are saved from displacement, then it's all over. Life comes to normalcy. So, the question that you are asking, that actually asks for continuation of the program, continuation of the movement. Suppose that stops, but there are other things which people should raise, and that doesn't happen. That's not happening. So that way, the movement comes to a stop the moment the threats are withdrawn.
And so what I'm interested in is sort of response to say a movement like Lalgarh, which is about political power, and so the logic of that movement gets crushed because there is no, like say, transformation cannot be localized in that sense, and it has to be crushed because there is no sort of generalization outside other movements and all. So people are scared, or maybe not scared, but cannot see things that way, the political power and things like that. But when something like Lalgarh happens, when political power is taken head on, so what is the reaction here, the sort of movement here? How do they react to it? Do they see a possibility, alternatives, or are they still
publicity? But in southern part of Orissa, as far as the reports are coming, lot of things are happening, and they cannot happen unless the people have support, the local people have support. It is a fact that such things are limited to a particular geographical region. It has not come to, it has not actually taken, gripped the entire state or like that. But such things are happening, and it is happening because there is a support for such kind of things to happen. Lalgarh would not have happened unless the people there, without the support of the people. Maybe the Lalgarh could not influence the people from a larger section, maybe. But similarly South Orissa, but again, as I see, people are opposed to this violence, largely, as I find. They say this is not acceptable to people, so maybe you can say the middle class. Middle class is not accepting these things to happen. And middle class means they have their own interest. But working class, particularly those areas who are engaged in this farming, this agriculture or all that, and feel exploited by the sahukars, exploited by the local traders and all that. So they are responding in favor of them. That is there. In Narayanpatna, what happened? All in people's movement at different places, they are really scared because the government is very harsh, has become very harsh in Narayanpatna. Therefore, the people here, they, in support of Nachikalinga, they held protest. They held actually the placards and against police pursuing Nachikalinga. So support. So the response is I don't think is very